Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Nostalgia Bubble podcast, the show where two lifelong best friends celebrate the movies that they love. I'm one of your host Shuggy, your awards master for this evening.
And I am Nye, the world's worst present rapper.
I think I could give you a run for your money on that one.
Yeah,
I'm pretty bad.
Well, we're exchanging presents this year, so we'll see.
Yeah. Today's show is going to be a bit different to the last bunch. We've decided we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus, have a break, and so we decided to call this the end of season 1.
Yeah, we sort of decided to do a kind of awards ceremony. We thought that would sort of be apt to do our own sort of film awards.
Yeah, have a bit of fun. You know, there's some silly awards in here. We've got some ones where we actually think about the films a little bit critically. Get some good discussions going.
Maybe we should call them the bubbles or something.
Oh, the bubbles, I
Give
like
the
that.
ceremony a name.
Yeah, I like the bubbles.
The bubbles. Okay, so you can earn a bubble.
Great. So
Nice.
should we just dive straight into them?
Right. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, obviously it being our first season, I've had a lot of fun.
Me too, man. Me too.
It's been nice to kind of watch some films that I wouldn't usually choose to watch. There have been films in there that I needed convincing to like, and yeah, it's been a good few months of recording. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, me too. Changed my mind on a couple of films.
Not so much on others.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get into that, but obviously, I think you picked my most watched film actually in this season, which is The Phantom Menace.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair dues.
So we've got 8 awards for this evening, and we're going to just kick it off with a big one, which is our favourite film of the season.
Yes.
Do you want to give your answer first?
Yeah, okay. So, for me, it kind of didn't boil down to much of a tough choice. My favourite of the season was The Full Monty.
I think I would have guessed that, yeah.
Yeah, this is, I think, probably one of the films that I've been watching for the longest. And for me, it was just all round brilliant. I think it's so kind of feel good and quite hard hitting at times. Just addresses some really interesting issues and just constantly smiling and crying at the same time.
Yeah. This is one of the ones that I hadn't seen for forever when you picked it, and it was just a joy.
Yeah, it is just one of those films that you get to the end of it and you can't help but feel happy. Every time I watch it, it feels like I'm watching it again for the first time, just because I enjoy it that much.
Yeah, so funny, so uplifting, just a beautiful British film, and you can see why it's had such an enduring legacy.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's my pick for The Full Monty, for my favourite film.
It's a good pick.
And yours is?
So there was only one film from this season that appears in my sort of top 10 films of all time.
Are you pausing? Are you waiting for me to
dramatic
guess?
effect while you guess, yeah?
I'm going to guess Jurassic Park.
It is Jurassic Park, yeah.
Yeah, thought so. Wanna give it an explanation?
Yeah, this film for me is just cinematic genius. This is Spielberg at his absolute best. And when Spielberg's at his best, no one can really rival him for movie making. It has so many different genres wrapped up in it. It's science fiction, it's got horror, it's got action adventure, it's got comedy, and it's just got this wonderful kind of heart to it. This beautiful story of this guy who is essentially a miserable old miser, and he comes to accept the joy that the kids bring him, the wonder that Spielberg creates with the dinosaurs. John Williams' score is just stunning. This is one of my all-time favourite films. I probably watch it at least once a year, and as I mentioned in the last episode, I really like dinosaurs.
Yeah, indeed. I think, there's as far as cinema goes and rounded cinema, I mean, it feels like this is kind of brilliance on many levels, and you're right to kind of use examples of sort of John Williams's music and the kind of cinematic effects and the story. It is a real wonder of a film.
Yeah.
And I'm just really glad that I got the chance to go back and watch it, because it's one of those films that I'd seen a couple of times, and knew that I'd kind of seen and sort of never really thought to go back to. So because I guess when I watched it, I just thought dinosaurs, cool. And then that was it. But there's a lot more to this film than you may initially pick up on when you're watching it for the first time.
Yeah, it's perfect summation of why I love it.
Yeah. Okay, award number 2 of 8 is the biggest WTF moment, which I'm sure you know what that stands for.
I think this is an interesting award because I think there are different ways you can interpret this.
Yeah, this was going to be my next point, is that this could be shocking, it could be weird, it could just be something that doesn't make sense to you. So yeah, we felt like this would be an interesting one because there could be so many different examples, and I've got a few special mentions. Which I think kind of exemplify this point, but I'll let you give your award first.
Yeah, for me there's only one WTF moment that stands out. It's the one that I was sitting in the cinema and was just like, I can't believe they did that. And that is the moment Charlie gets decapitated in Hereditary.
Okay, well, I'm going to say now that we have awarded the award to the same moment.
I mean, yeah, that just speaks to what
a
shocking moment it is in a film.
Yeah, there was no question for me that this was kind of the most outrageous moment across all the films we've watched. I think I said when we were recording that I watched this with my housemate and I waited for his reaction. I wasn't desensitized to it second time round either. Yeah, it's definitely a massive shocker of a moment. So my special mentions go to, they're not particularly serious. The evil scientist in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Good one.
Is just a WTF character, or indeed the whole of Halloween Town. And also Max and Rosemary's relationship in Rushmore.
No, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Just a little bit weird.
Yeah, a bit icky.
But I think Charlie's beheading trumps all of those, for sure.
And our third award of the evening is, this is your speciality, and this is acting. So we are talking the best acting performance of the season.
Yes, so I think it's fair to say that there are loads of brilliant performances.
Yeah.
Again, I have got some special mentions. So the 3 special mentions for me are Alex Wolff in Hereditary. Incredible. I mean, if you think an actor works on a film for maybe 3 or 4 months, to be kind of maintaining that level of emotion for that long, and kind of trying to immerse yourself in those situations for that long must be pretty hard. So yeah, credit where credit's due there. Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense. I think we both agreed that he was absolutely fantastic in that film, especially as a kid at such a young age. To kind of approach a character like that and kind of pretty much hit the nail on the head, I think is really impressive. And also Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat. I mean, it's not necessarily acting in the conventional sense, but maybe in its most purest form is acting. He's completely and utterly pretending to be someone else.
Yeah, he's completely in character, and he can't break it.
He doesn't break it. Yeah. So for me, and like, I think the kind of international fame that character has accrued is testament to how good a job Sacha Baron Cohen's done
Those
with that.
are some. Those
But
are some.
the winner for me,
Those are some great honourable mentions. I have a feeling we might have the same number one, but why don't you take it away?
possibly, the winner for me, hands down, is Gene Wilder as Willy
Same.
Wonka. Yeah, I mean, just utter special genius.
Brilliant.
Puts the gene in genius.
Yeah, you said that about 5 times in the episode, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just incredible. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, a performance like not only this genius on kind of, you know, the way he delivers dialogue and all of this, the physicality of it, you know, the way he enters the film, it's this sort of limp, weak-looking person to suddenly snap out of that and go into the forward role, and just plays with the audience, plays with the audience both in and out of the film, and he's constantly doing that throughout.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just a demonstration of how versatile an actor needs to be, and he's just, the precision and the perfection of it is just, it's flawless.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, I'm glad we agree on that too. Okay, moving on to award number 4 is the most dramatic acting or scene. So it can be a scenario or it can be an acting moment.
Again, I think this is one that's a bit open to interpretation. Are you talking dramatic in terms of, you know, something like Fences, where it's kind of award-winning dramatic, or are you talking melodrama?
Yes. Yeah, there are plenty of ways to interpret this. Again, I've got some special mentions. But yeah, I think this is yours to go first.
Yeah, I definitely took this as kind of the melodramatic route. This was a harder one though, because I think there's a less just obvious standout, but I think I've gone for the Bruce Willis and Olivia Williams dinner scene in The Sixth Sense, which is a scene we talked about quite a lot.
Okay.
Because it just
we did.
doesn't work for me. You've got her putting this in like really sad performance where she's not interacting at all because she's obviously dead, and him getting more and more exasperated, and it was a weird one for me.
It does feel a little bit like they're really trying to force this something that has for some reason got a kind of natural disconnect. Yeah, that's a very interesting take on it. I didn't even think about that one. So no, I like that. For me, mine is dramatic in a different sense. For me, mine is Borat when he's being cleansed in the church, speaking in tongues. I think it's kind of an obvious interpretation of dramatic.
Yeah, very over the top.
But I think I find it hilarious. I think contextually it's brilliant. The fact that it is so melodramatic, it's so over the top, yet seems to fit in with the surroundings and is completely believable in its context.
Yeah, I've got to agree.
So for me, yeah, that worked really well. A couple of special or honourable mentions is Max's final play in Rushmore.
It's good. I like that a lot. Yeah.
The very essence of drama, I think. Jim Carrey in The Grinch. I don't think you can talk about dramatic without mentioning Jim Carrey if he's amongst the bunch. And also, just a little one which I found quite funny was Samuel L. Jackson's arm dropping on top of Ellie, and as she kind of, that switch from being relieved that he's there to finding that the arm is no longer attached to the man himself. I found quite funny.
That's a good one. I like those honourable mentions, and great pick, great first pick.
Cool.
Our next
Our
next award of the night is going to be the Most Heartfelt Moment Award. So this is just one that really tugged at your heartstrings, made you feel. What have you got?
So for me, this is one that just hits me every time, and it's Dave's moment with Jean in the bedroom. in the full Monty when she thinks that he's been cheating, and suddenly he opens up and he shows his vulnerability.
A stunning
And,
moment.
Yeah, and the way that he's kind of he really opens up as a self-conscious guy who is, his esteem is through the floor, self-esteem is through the floor, and just brilliantly acted, brilliantly written, and speaks a lot of truth in men's insecurities and women's insecurities, but something that I personally have been able to identify with a lot in my 26 years on this earth. So yeah, that was mine for sure.
Yeah,
What about you?
I completely agree. That's a really moving scene.
Yeah, for sure. And yourself? What's your...
Yeah, mine's more low key. It's not like a huge kind of character revelation moment like that. It's a small moment from Rushmore, and it's where Max invites the bully Magnus to be in the play.
Nice.
It's just this kind
Very
of
nice.
moment of acknowledging, he always wanted to be in one of the plays. He's like, I know you did, pal. And it's kind of the moment when Max is starting to make everything right, and it's really a sign that he's growing as a person.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this, that it's kind of a really pivotal moment for Max, and it's powerful,
Yeah.
and heartfelt can be powerful, and I think that that's a really lovely moment to pick out, especially as it's kind of a subtle comment on sort of somebody's character arc.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that's a really nice one. I like that. Next up, are we moving on to best reference?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, best reference. That's the next one. Okay, so for best reference, this can be a reference to either a film, another film, or a reference to... We did also say a product, so product placement. But it has to be something that...
ludicrous product placement, something like that. It just
Yeah, so just anything that kind of it exists beyond the realms and the universe of the film itself. So something that is brought in from our world, you might say. Into,
yeah, it makes you think of something that's not within the film. Essentially.
Yeah. So, yeah, for this one, what was your choice?
There was one film I had to go to for this, and that's Shrek. And there are
I also
many,
went to Shrek.
so many references in there.
Yeah.
But the one I had to pick was Fiona doing the Matrix bullet time.
Okay, brilliant. I very nearly picked this one.
Yeah.
I just think it's so kind of in your face. It doesn't try to be subtle. I love the juxtaposition of it being Matrix and a princess
Yeah, it's
who's
not,
kind of expected.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a moment that's clearly in there for, the adults who are taking their kids along. Shrek came out 2 years after The Matrix, so, the kids who are there aren't going to know the reference.
Yeah.
And I love the way, it's part of that kind of evolution of Fiona, where she is not what you expect her to be, and she's pulling out Trinity moves and taking out these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, this... Yeah, I nearly chose that moment, but it feels like there is no other film you can choose other than Shrek out of this lot. I think you just can't.
It is full of meta references, yeah.
Yeah. My pick, again, obviously from Shrek. I actually chose in the finale when they're singing, the reference to Christmas Carol, Gingy on his sugar cane with one leg, referencing Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm in the Christmassy mood. I'm not
maybe.
sure, but that for me was just kind of one of my favourites, especially because you know what Gingy's been through with Lord Farquaad, and that for me was possibly my favourite reference.
Oh, it's a lovely one. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to the penultimate award of the night, and this is for the best film quote. So just our favourite quote. It can be something, powerful and meaningful, or it can be something funny and that amuses you in some way.
Yeah. So again, I have a couple of special mentions. So one is obviously I See Dead People from The
Iconic.
Sixth Sense. I feel like it's just iconic. You can't go. I don't think we could have this award at the end of the season and not acknowledge it at least. Also, for me, Clever Girl in Jurassic Park is just that moment where that split second where before the raptor becomes
Takes out Muldoon.
vicious, and yeah, you just have this second of appreciation for her kind of natural beauty.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I love that one. But the award for me actually went in a slightly less sentimental direction, and just I went for I Saved Latin. What Did You Ever Do?
It
from
was really
Rushmore.
close to mine. That was like my third or
Yeah.
fourth choice for sure.
I love this because, I mean, we've spoken about it, but Max just utterly misses the point, but also actually makes a very big statement and a very important point. And it's just funny, the fact that he doesn't even understand that that's not what she wanted.
Yeah, that's a great one.
so,
As you said, it's so funny, and it just really sums up where Max's character is at that point, and just
Yeah.
doesn't get it at all.
Yeah. What did you award?
So, I spent quite a long time talking with our friend Will about different Star Wars quotes,
Right, okay.
because we love the terrible dialogue in the prequels. Now, I was throwing out things like, "Now this is pod racing," or "I'll try spinning. That's a nice trick."
Oh my
Oh,
gosh, yeah.
"Are you an angel?"
Christ.
They are all terrible. But
Yeah.
you know what? There is an actual funny line that I quote too much, and it's from Shrek.
Okay.
"We can stay up late swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles."
Yes, I have heard you quote this many a time.
I don't even eat waffles, like, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but this has definitely left your face more than once. So
Yeah. I think I've said
I
this
shouldn't
line.
be surprised.
I think I've said this line out of context more times than I've ever eaten waffles.
Possibly, quite possibly.
Probably.
I've
I'd
also
say.
just another one has just popped into my head, which, for a different award, for the dramatic acting and scene, and I just feel like I have to say that Duel of the Fates should be up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too late to reassign my award, but it's definitely one of the most brilliant dramatic scenes, I think. Anyway,
Yeah, it's a big one.
back on track, onto our final one.
It's the big
Our
one.
final award is the most nostalgic film. It feels
We're-
appropriate to round it off with, and by kind of reinforcing the tone of the whole podcast. So
We're about
the most
nostalgia.
nostalgic film.
Yeah, we're about nostalgia. This is why we set up, to talk about the films that really made us nostalgic, the films we love.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, and weirdly, my pick is not any of the films that I chose this season.
Okay.
Nor is it the film that we chose together.
Okay.
I mentioned it at the start. It's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
We've got the same one. We've got
Yay!
the same pick. The most nostalgic film is Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Categorically.
Listen, for me...
You tell me why it's yours.
Yeah, for me, I'm a Star Wars guy. Like, I adore Star Wars. I spend too much time having nonsense conversations about Star Wars. The same
Yeah, I can vouch
conversations
for
about
that.
Star Wars over and over again. Me and my friend that I just mentioned, Will, we spent a few hours the other night just listing our top 3 Star Wars moments from various characters throughout the franchise. This is how much I love Star Wars, and the first one I ever saw in cinemas was The Phantom Menace. Is it a terrible film? It's not a good film, I'll say that. But I adore it, and I adore every one of those prequels. This is, for me, easily the most nostalgic film.
Yeah, it feels like a no-brainer, and I feel like this film is the one of the season that really sort of sums up what Nostalgia Bubble is about.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is what we were going for, and for me as well, like, I'm not a Star Wars fan in the same way that you are, but I remember when I was younger that this film particularly, this was where I saw my obsessive nature come to life. I remember having all the Lego. I remember having
The braid.
the
We can't
lightsaber
forget the braid.
toys. The braid. I had the braid.
I still can't remember the braid, and it pains me that
Yeah,
I need a
can't
photo.
get my I can't get my face painted without getting Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And yeah, even though I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, I'm not kind of a huge fan of the franchise. This film for me is by far the most nostalgic. I feel like this kind of shaped me as a child more than any other film that we've spoken about this season. So I'm glad we agree on that one as well. We've got a couple of the same ones, haven't we?
Yeah, quite a few of these have ended up going to the same film or actor or performance, whatever, you know.
Yeah. So I feel like we've had a that I think that implies that we've had a good kind of choice of films across the season.
Yeah, and I think I've really enjoyed. We've tried to make it varied across the season as well. Sure, there's probably been more of a focus on kind of comedic films than anything else, but we've had some, you know, drama and horror in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think maybe 2020 has meant that we've needed to talk about comedy more so than normal, but
very possibly.
Yeah.
But I think even within the comedy, we've had a big range of what comedy is.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you're looking at Rushmore as a comedy, it's completely different to Borat, which is completely different to Shrek. So yeah, exactly. I think we have a real range of films in there at the same time. So yeah, that kind of rounds off this first season, which has been absolutely brilliant. I've got something a little related but different.
You got a closer for us this week?
Yeah, I have. So obviously 2020 is pretty much been and gone. Thank goodness for that. Well done for getting to the end of it. And we're going to be moving into 2021. Cinemas hopefully will open again soon.
They're open for me.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm based in London, so everything is currently closed. But hopefully they will open again on a national scale. And films will be released thick and fast in the new year. Is there a film in 2021? One film that you're most looking forward to being released?
Oof, that's a really hard one that I will need a minute to think about. Do you have?
I thought you might find this one tricky. Yeah, I have one in mind for me personally.
Can I guess yours?
Yeah. Do you want to guess mine?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Go for it. You might well get it. Actually, I've spoken about it a bit.
Is it In the Heights?
It is. Yeah. So In the Heights, it's a film that was obviously meant to come out this year and got postponed a year. As somebody who has had a career in musical theatre and has recently decided to kind of leave that behind for now, I feel like that may well be a hit of nostalgia. I'm just very excited for it. I love the music. I love the story. I really like the representation of kind of South American, Latin American, the representation of that community. I'm just very excited to see it. Yeah.
Devin?
So that's mine this year. For this year, that's the one release at the moment that I'm incredibly excited for.
That's definitely an honourable mention for me. Again, I love the music as well. It's going to be superb.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I think I have a couple of other honourable mentions to throw out before I give my final pick.
Yeah.
The upcoming Bond film, No Time to Die.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was like
for
the
me too.
first casualty of COVID pushing back films. I remember I actually
Yeah.
had a booking in on that one. It had to get refunded.
Oh no.
A couple of smaller ones. A24 are releasing a film called The Green Knight, which is sort of based on an old Arthurian legend, and that looks
Yeah.
just weird as hell. I am so excited for that.
Okay.
A new Edgar Wright kind of horror thriller called Last Night in Soho, which I don't know
Okay.
anything else about, but Edgar Wright's making it, so I'm very excited. The cast is great as well. Anya Taylor-Joy, she's just like hit big from being in The Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's wonderful. But my number one, it's Dune. Like, Denis Villeneuve is just an incredible filmmaker. Arrival was one of the best films I'd seen, of the 2010s.
Yeah. Brilliant film.
He managed to make a sequel to Blade Runner, and it was good. Like, that's unbelievable. And the original Dune movie, it's not great, but if anyone can make it work, it's Denis Villeneuve, and I am
Yeah,
so
I was going to
excited.
ask, is this a remake?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's an adaptation of a really famous book, like sci-fi novel, Frank Herbert.
Yeah.
And there was a version. It's not great,
Yeah, I've seen it.
with
It's a-
Sting as one of the bad guys and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
okay. So
I'm
looking
so
I
much
think
more
that's one of my dad's favourite films, actually.
it's
I
cheesy.
think he appreciates it's so bad it's good.
It's very cheesy and 80s, I think, and
Yeah.
it doesn't hold up. Kind of having watched it for the first time a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, but
Appeals
I'm-
very much to a certain audience, then maybe.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for this new version. I say Denis Villeneuve, like, I don't think he's made a bad film yet. He has only produced bangers, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
he can do it again.
I mean, if you're comparing it to the likes of Arrival, like I am, because I haven't seen the Blade Runner film, but yeah, if you're comparing it to the likes of Arrival, then cinematically and in terms of directorially, it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, like his older films are great as well. You look at something like Enemy or Prisoners or Sicario; they're all great.
Oh, Sicario is a fantastic film.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to that one with you then, mate.
Yeah, and that will kind of do it for this season. We're gonna take a couple months off, and we'll be back early next year at some point, around March, April.
Yeah.
We'll announce an exact date on Twitter, and we might have some kind of pick our first film, or we're still working out how we're going to do that. But until then, you can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, and YouTube. If you want to find us on those social media, you can follow us at Nostalgia Bubble on Twitter and at Nostalgia Bubble Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow me at Shuggy Says, that's SHUGGIE Says, on all social media platforms.
And you can find me on Twitter at Nyreese, so NYEREES, and on Instagram at ReeseNye.
And that'll do it for the season. Bye bye.
See ya.